The topic that we have chosen to explore is forever polymers, specifically polytetrafluoroethylene. Our motivation for studying this topic is that it has a large impact on our everyday lives. Polytetrafluoroethylene, commonly abbreviated PTFE and marketed as Teflon, is mass-produced in many items we use regularly, but there are many harmful side effects from both its production and its use. These negative effects, which will be examined later, include the hazards for both human health and the environment in general.
To start off, let's look at the properties of forever polymers and Ptfe. Forever polymers, or forever chemicals, are molecular bonds that can take thousands of years to break down and therefore accumulate in both the environment and in our bodies due to their CF bond, one of the strongest bonds in nature. These molecules release harmful byproducts called PFAs, and the main culprit of this release is Ptfe.
To further examine this bond, we look at fluorine, a highly electronegative atom, which draws electrons away from the carbon backbone in Ptfe. This influences the physical properties of Ptfe.
Ptfe has high thermal durability, high chemical resistance, and waterproofness. Because of this, Ptfe is used in pots and pans, but it has been found in everything from electrical coatings to raincoats and other clothing items.
Although the bonds in this compound are very strong, it can still be broken down if enough heat is added. Ptfe begins to deteriorate around 260 degrees Celsius and completely decomposes above 350. One of the compounds it can deteriorate into is Tfe. To dive deeper into this decomposition, let's examine the mechanism. Note the single-headed arrows represent the movement of a single electron. This occurs through the reverse reaction of free radical vinyl polymerization. Once heat is added, the process is started by the cleaving of the single bond between monomer units to create radicals. This radical then separates from the initiator species to form the carbon-carbon double bond in Tfe. This reaction poses many concerns because it produces Tfe as well as pyrolytic gas, which is predominantly carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, and methane. All of these have been shown to cause respiratory issues. Looking at the NFPA diamonds for these hazards, we see high ratings for health hazards, max ratings for fire hazards, and a high rating for Tfe instability.
Beyond direct exposure, there are lasting health effects of being surrounded by these chemicals. The PFAs released by Ptfe can be found in humans due to the amount of PFAs in the drinking water. Because of that, PFAs can be found bioaccumulating in 97% of all Americans. PFAs are present in small amounts in water and fish and products contained in Ptfe materials. PFAs also have side effects, one of which is relevant to our current time, which is reducing the body's immunity and reducing vaccine response in humans.
To avoid the negative effects of breaking down Ptfe, there are two main methods used to recycle it. The first method is to expose Ptfe to strong ionizing radiation. Heavy gamma and electron radiation are able to break carbon-carbon bonds within Ptfe and turn it into a micropowder, a powder with a particle size in the micron range. This resulting powder has different properties than the pure Ptfe, which it started out as, and is mainly used for additive and lubricant applications. In the picture below, the sample to the left is scrap Ptfe, and the sample to the right is the ionized micropowder generated from the scrap. The second method to recycle scrap Ptfe is to pulverize it into a micropowder without using any radiation. This method of recycling yields reusable Ptfe, which is similar in quality to the original pure material. However, powderizing Ptfe by purely mechanical means can be very difficult to do. The powder can be added to pure Ptfe and processed with it, or it can be resintered into a solid which is almost identical to pure Ptfe. Both of these recycling methods are not widespread, and unfortunately most Ptfe ends up in landfills.
Because these recycling methods are not widespread, the future of PTFEs lies in incentivizing these recycling processes. Currently, most plastics manufacturers dump their scrap plastics in landfills due to the complications of separating waste to recycle and a lack of economic incentive to recycle. This can be combated by tax deductions for manufacturers for investing in separating waste to recycle, whether by redesigning their processes or utilizing companies such as Acel Polymers in St. Louis, which work with manufacturers to provide innovative, full-surface recycling solutions so they can reduce their carbon footprint and ultimately reduce overall costs long-term. This solution also expands the plastics recycling business sector, inspiring further sustainability and entrepreneurship, creating more jobs in the long run. In conclusion, PTFEs are an important class of polymers in our everyday lives, but it is important that we implement policy that advocates for increased recycling practices to protect ourselves and the planet.